All right, you guys. So we're going to hit the last one today, 7.3. And the two properties that we're going to use today are the zero and negative exponent properties. And they're just quite a bit different than the other two days that we've done. So I'm going to go ahead and go through those examples here just so we kind of refresh our minds about what we've done. All right. So we've got our first one is when it's multiplication, we add exponents, right? So this would be add our exponents, and I would have a to the m plus n. If it's multiply and we add, then when it's divide, we subtract. So I'm going to put here subtract, and this would be a to the m minus n. Okay. When there's parentheses, we multiply, right? So this guy gets to go in here, and we have a to the m times n. When it's more than one, we distribute inside while we multiply. All right, so this would be a to the m, b to the m. And the same thing happens when it's division top and bottom. Distribute to both top and bottom. And we get a to the m over b to the m. Okay, so we're going to do all those properties today with the other ones that we have. So first one is the zero exponent property. And this is pretty simple as long as you can remember it, because we always want to say zero instead. But anything to the zero power actually equals 1 every time, whether it's a number, 3 to the 0, and you can type it in your calculator, 3 to the 0 power, hit equals, it's going to be 1. If it was 85 to the 0 power, it would still equal 1. You could even do 8,550 to the 0 power, and it's still going to be a 1. With that, anything that you would put in for an exponent then would also equal 1, because eventually this is going to become a number, right? So if I have f to the 0 power, it equals 1, because I'm going to replace it with a number. Anything in the number to the 0 power is a 1. Okay, so it's easy, but at the same time, we have a hard time remembering it. So on here, same property as earlier. So 7 times 4 gives me 28. And then I would add exponents, right? So I would have x to the 4 plus negative 4. Well, 4 plus negative 4 is 0. So I would have 28 x to the 0. And this guy equals 1. So it's like 28 times 1, which just gives me 28. So as soon as you have x to the 0, it's kind of like it just cancels. You don't have to worry about it. Same thing here. X to the 4 over 4, where again, division means we subtract, right? So x to the 4 minus 4 gives me x to the 0, and anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay. Number 3, number on the outside means we distribute to everything on the inside. So to the 2, the x, and the y. These have 1 if there's nothing there. So I'm left with 2 to the second. 0 times 2 gives me x to the 0 still. And y times 1 times 2 is 2. Solving this or simplifying it, 2 squared is 4. X to the 0 is like a 1, so like times 1, it's canceling. And then y squared is just still y squared. So this gives me 4y squared. Okay. All right, so our second property is negative exponent property. Negative exponents actually end up creating fractions. They don't mean that you have a negative number necessarily, okay? And I can prove that to you with a little demonstration here. If you were to do 4 to the third, 4 squared, 4 to the first, 4 to the 0, and then do negatives, 4 to the negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3, right? So if you do these, 4 to the third in your calculator is 64. 4 squared is 16. 4 to the first is 4. And then 4 to the 0 we just learned is 1. Well, each time you do this, you are dividing by 4. Dividing by 4. Dividing by 4. Right? So naturally, if I take 1 and divide it by 4, I'm going to get 1 over 4. 1 divided by 4. as a fraction. If you put it as a decimal, you can have a different number as well. But then if I take that one and divide it by 4, I'm going to get 1 over 16. Now take a look at what's happening. We have 1 in the middle, and then we have 4, 16, 64. And this way, with negatives, it gives me 1 over 4, 1 over 16. So I hope right now you're guessing that this one is 1 over 64. So it makes a fraction because it's making a smaller number, okay? It's dividing it by 4 or whatever number we're using every time. So because it makes a fraction, our negative exponent actually goes to the bottom. So if you think about this guy here, 4 to the negative 1 is actually like 1 over 4 to the first, or 1/4, right? 4 to the negative 2 is actually like 1 over 4 squared, or 1 over 16. So that negative exponent has to go to the bottom of the fraction, and it basically becomes a positive, okay? Because it's still a positive number, it's just a smaller number. So if the negative exponent is on top of the fraction, move it to the bottom and make it positive. You should never have a negative exponent in your answers because they go to the bottom and become a positive every time. Okay? So let's practice a couple of those. Kind of confusing at first. 6 to the negative 4, again, is like a fraction. So it's going to be 1 over 6 to the 4th. And 6 to the 4th can be solved, which is 1 over 1,296. Okay. M to the negative 4 would be 1 over m to the positive 4. It goes to the bottom and becomes a positive. That one we can't type in our calculator, so we're done simplifying. Okay. Now, each one of these is an individual term with its own exponent, right? So anything that has a negative exponent, again, has to go to the bottom and become a positive. So for this one, 6 and m are already positive exponents, so they're going to stay on top. N has the negative exponent, so it's going to drop to the bottom, and its exponent is going to become a positive. We can't type anything else in, so that would be our answer. Okay, same thing here. We've got negative 4, a, and b. But a and b are the only ones that have the negatives as an exponent, right? This guy has a 1. So when I write my fraction, negative 4 is going to stay on top, and then a to the 10th and b to the 7th are going to drop down below. Again, 4 doesn't drop because it's only a negative number. It doesn't have a negative exponent. And we don't make negative numbers into fractions every time we use them. Okay? So let's go down here. Got a few more, and then we're done. We're going to put all the properties together when we talk about these. Okay? So I have multiplication property. Multiply means I multiply my coefficients. So negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. And then multiply means I add. So I'm going to add, same basis. 4 plus negative 2 gives me negative 2. So x to the negative 2. And then negative 6 plus negative 4 is y to the negative 10. Right? Oh, that one wouldn't be negative. I'm sorry. This guy is positive. 4 plus negative 2 is 2. Apologies. So 12 and x both have a positive exponent. So they're going to stay up top. So 12 to the x squared. And then y has a negative, so it's going to go to the bottom and become a positive. Okay. Over here, number on the outside, which means you distribute. So I'm going to go to the 2, the x, and the y. This gives me 2 to the negative 3. X would be 7 times negative 3, which is negative 21. And y is a negative times a negative, so that would be a positive 15. So here, 2 and x both have the negative exponents, so they're going to go down. So on top, I have y to the 15th. On the bottom, I have 2 to the 3rd. X to the 21st. Right? Now I can solve 2 to the 3rd. Simplified, so I have to keep going. So y to the 15th on top. 2 to the 3rd is 8. And then x to the 21st. Okay. Same thing here. Division. So we simplify. Remember I told you you're going to use your ABC key because you don't want to get a decimal. So 9 over 12. 3 goes into both of those, so it would be 3 over 4. Right? It's division, so I subtract. So this is where this gets tricky. X's here are going to be 4 minus negative 3. Remember, back-to-back negatives make a positive, so this is actually like 4 plus 3. So my x's would be x to the 7th. And the y's would be negative 2 minus 5, which is negative 7. So this is y to the negative 7. Now, my fraction is already set, 3 over 4. X to the 7th is positive, so it goes on top. And y to the negative 7 goes to the bottom because it's negative. Okay? All right, last one. I'm going to simplify first, and then I'm going to distribute our outside number. So again, division, so we subtract. So m's would be 5 minus 3, which is 2. N's would be 1 minus 4, and that would be negative 3. So n to the negative 3. I'm not going to move anything yet because I still have to distribute. So negative 4 goes to my m and my n, and I have m to the negative 8, n to the positive 12. Well, now the m is the negative, so it has to go to the bottom. So n to the 12th stays on top, and m to the 8th drops and becomes a positive. Okay, a little rule to help you out. If it's a multiplication problem, we add the exponents. If it's division problem, we subtract the exponents. If there's parentheses, then we multiply the exponents. If it has a negative, it goes to the bottom and becomes a positive. Multiply, add, divide, subtract, parentheses, multiply. Negatives go to the bottom. Okay, let me know what you need help with.